And one of the ways we can tell association, instead of just thinking about our variables and the relationship between them, is to go ahead and graph or look at the variables sketched down. We do this using what's called a scatter plot, and it's called a scatter plot because we are going to be plotting points scattered about our little plot here. So for our first example here, we're just going to go ahead and make up a little data set. I'm going to put it over here on the right-hand side. We're going to call one variable x and one y. This will be with respect to just our algebra, of course, x being the horizontal, y being my vertical axis. Another way to name these is x is a lot of times what we call our explanatory variable, and explanatory meaning it explains what happens. And y is our response variable, that is, it's responding to what happened. Good way of looking at this is if we look at cancer and smoking, we say smoking is an explanatory variable, it explains something, and the response variable is cancer, because if you smoke, it explains your cancer risk. Cancer risk is in response to smoking. A lot of times that we don't have this relationship, one explaining or responding to the other. A lot of times it's more ambiguous, so I'm just going to call it x and y here. We'll say our first x point is 1, y is 2, x is 3, y is 5, x is 4, y is 5, x is 6, and y is 7. If I wanted to do a scatter point plot here, I would look at the fact that I have one point at 1, 2, another point at 3, 5, another point at 4, 5, and a final point at 6, 7. So I've got 4 points here. Each point has one x and one y value, one from our explanatory, one from our response variable. Now to go ahead and put these on here, I'm going to start by marking out my horizontal axis. So I run between 1 and 6 for x. So I'll go ahead and put 1 here, counting over by ones. And I'll put my response variable, or y, on the vertical. And this runs between 2 and 7, so I'll start once again at 1. Now it might not always be a good idea to count by ones. We might want to count by like 5s or 10s or like 100,000 if we were talking about, I don't know, miles on a car or something. So I've got my axes labeled. The next thing I'll do is put my points on there. My first point is at 1, 2. So I'll go over to 1 and up to 2, and that's my first point there. My next point here is 3, 5. So I'll go over to 3 and up to 5. My next one is 4, 5. So I'll go over to 4 and up to 5. And my final one here is at 6, 7, so I'll go over to 6, up to 7. Now, something important to notice about scatter plots is that I could have a point that's repeated. For instance, I might have 6, 7 again. If this is the case, I don't go ahead and draw another point. This single point up here, the yellow one, represents both of those.